Hi everybody, welcome to my channel, Great with Steve I. Today I'm going to do something new. I love to cook, and not that I'm a great cook or a chef or anything like that, but I love to cook. And so today I have some meat that I need to cook, and I'm going to make a pasta sauce and divide it up into individual servings so that I can put it in my freezer for later. So I figured why not share it with you guys. So come with me and I'm gonna make a tomato sauce. The reason why it's taken me a while to decide if I wanted to do this or not is because of my situation with where I have to put my camera to be able to film for you. So I don't know, this isn't gonna work perfect, but it'll be okay to start. Now to start off with, I will be cooking this pound of hamburger. Usually I put spicy Italian sausage or just regular Italian sausage instead of hamburger in my sauce, but I had this pound of ground beef that needed to get cooked, so I decided I'm going to use a mix. Now this is still frozen, so and my Italian sausage is not. So I am going to cook this, and when this is getting to a place where it's thawed enough, then I will add the Italian sausage. So let me get that going and then I will be back. Okay, so I just defrosted it. I forgot that my microwave has a defroster, so I went ahead and defrosted the beef, and now I'm gonna mix in the ground beef and the spicy sausage, and we will cook all that together. And I'll cook this until it's brown and done cooking. Some people use those masher things. They look like a potato masher, but they're kind of like squiggly, and they're for mashing up ground beef. I unfortunately don't have one, so I just use a wooden spoon. That's how I always do it. So this is my sauce, the way I call it my sauce because it's the way I do it. But you know, everybody has their own recipe, everybody has their own ways of doing it. If you want to try it out the way I do it, then this is a way you can do it. Now, I generally use, again, mostly Italian sausage, but because I had some ground beef, I went ahead and threw that in there too. I don't think it's going to change it. I think it's going to add some, it's just going to add a different element to it, which will be nice. So we are going to cook this until it is brown and cooked through and broken up. And then I'm going to drain the fat, and then we will cook it. I'll add a tad of the fat back in just because I'm going to cook some onion with it. I used to do bell pepper as well. I love bell pepper, but my body no longer likes it. My mouth says yes please, and my intestines say no please. So because I feel so terrible afterwards, the last thing I want to do is add or to do it. So anyway, so I'm going to let that cook, and when we are done and ready to drain the fat, I will come back because I'm going to show you how I do it because it's a really good way. Okay, so I'm back. I'm not actually going to show you how to drain the fat and how I do that because look, there is hardly any fat in here. Oh, well, maybe there's a little more than I thought, but oh, yeah, there's a little more than I thought. But there's not much in here. So I think I'm just going to proceed to the next because I need a little bit of fat in here to cook the onions and the garlic. So what I'm going to do is I am going to put in, now this isn't a full, I bought a large garlic head and diced it up. Now this isn't the full thing because I used part of it for something. So this is only part of it. It's all I've got left at the moment. So I chopped up this thing of garlic, or not garlic, of onion. This whole thing of, it was a large onion. I bought it at the grocery store, but it's most of it. I would say it's 3/4 of it. So we'll saute that up. Another thing I'm going to do with that is I am going to add crushed red pepper. I love crushed red pepper. Pepper chili flakes. I love spicy, so I am going to put it in here, and I never measure. I just shake it in. If you like spicy, then just try a little bit. You can always take stuff out, but you can't add stuff in. So I just want to forewarn you of that because so be careful. I like it spicy, so I just shake it in and then I taste it after a while and see. I also add Italian seasoning. I know that the tomato, when you buy a jar of tomato sauce, it is already got a lot of those things in them, like onion and garlic and Italian seasoning. But I just like adding I like adding extra, and it gives it a better flavor, I think. I like to doctor it up. I don't just buy a jar of tomato sauce or a can of tomato sauce and eat it as is. I always add stuff to it. So we're going to let that saute and simmer and cook until the onions are soft, and then I'm going to add garlic, and so I'll be back. Okay, so now I am going to add in the garlic, and I don't know how much garlic I did. It's probably like maybe 6 cloves of garlic, 6 large cloves of garlic. I know that they weren't all large, so combined together, it's probably about 6 cloves of large garlic, diced up, or minced up, I should say. I love garlic, so I don't mind if it's a little on the garlicky side. Also, it's just, there's something wonderful about fresh chopped garlic. I don't buy the jarred stuff. I don't like it. Some people like it because it's already pre-diced and you can do it so easily. And I like the convenience of it, but it just alters the taste of it. It just doesn't taste as good. There's just a different taste to it. So I'd rather spend the time and chop my own garlic. I do use Prego roasted garlic and herb and roasted garlic Parmesan. I mix those together. And then also, I was given for free this Furman's spaghetti sauce, and then this tomato sauce from Furman's. So I'm just going to mix it all together and make a big batch, and then into the freezer it shall go. So we'll just saute up this garlic a little bit till it's fragrant and delicious, and then we will add the tomato sauce. Now I use a spatula to try to get out all the goodness I can, although I will add a little bit of water to the jars because it's hard to use a spatula on jars. Some people love to put their lids over their tomato sauce because they don't like it when it splatters everywhere. But I'm telling you, fight that urge, because when you cover up the pot, when the tomato bubbles and boils and it pops up and it explodes, it releases acid. And if you cover it up, then the acid will hit the top of the pan and fall back into the sauce, and your sauce is going to be very acidic. So a tomato sauce shouldn't be terribly acidic. So unfortunately, it's going to get messy, and you just have to know that it's going to be messy, but it's just a labor of love at that point, because you want your sauce to be good. You want people to be able to enjoy it without feeling with gassy stomach, or like, especially if you're someone who deals with acid reflux. That is definitely not something that you want. If you've never had it, that you're lucky, but if you have, you know what I'm talking about. And the more you cook this together and the more you let it simmer, the less acid will be in here. So I am going to simmer all that goodness together. I'm going to add just a little bit of water in here to help get the sauce out. And what I do is I just put a little bit of water, and I put the can back on and I shake it. And I may have to do it a couple times because I try not to get too much water, but I also want enough to get enough of the sauce out that I can. So when I'm satisfied with the amount of sauce I got out, then I will into the trash can it goes, or the rubbish can, wherever you're located, whatever you call it. Okay, so I am going to stir this, and at this point I usually add a little more crushed red pepper and a little more Italian seasoning. So I'm just going to sprinkle in a little more chili flakes and a little more of the Italian seasoning, and I will stir that in and then let it simmer. What I do is I taste it to make sure all the seasonings are good, and then I will finish it off. So sometimes I will add some Parmesan cheese to the sauce just because I think it gives it a nice dimension. I don't always do that, but I do have some in my freezer, so I think I'm gonna sprinkle some in a bit. So I'm gonna let that simmer and then I'll be back. Okay, so another thing I'm gonna do, I've never done before, but because I have them, someone gave me this can of diced tomatoes. So, I'm just gonna mix it in because it'll just give it a little more dimension. So I'm just gonna mix that in, and it'll give it a little more chunk to the sauce. It's not gonna hurt it any, and it'll help add more to the sauce, give it more bulk. All right, I'll be back. Another tip you can do if you like is, some people like to put wine in their tomato sauce. I don't have any wine, so I'm not going to be putting it in there. And another thing you can do in substitution of wine is a couple shakes of balsamic vinegar, which I don't have as well, so I will not be adding that in there. But if you do wine or balsamic vinegar in there, you want to make sure you simmer it for at least half an hour to cook out some of the acidity and stuff like that. But it gives it a seasoned flavor. So some people like it, some people don't. So it's up to you, however you like to do your sauces. Another thing I did that I generally don't do is I chopped up some kale that was in my fridge that was going to go bad. And so at the end, I'm going to mix in some kale, and that'll just give it a little more bulk, and it'll give it some more vegetable, and it'll just make it a little nicer with vegetables. So something a friend of mine told me that I'm going to pass on to you if you have a hard time getting your kids to eat their vegetables is, someone I know takes the broccoli and she cooks it, and then sorry, I forgot that I have a YouTube video playing that I'm watching while I'm doing this, and this time of day, I don't know why, this time of day always is really terrible for connection for the internet. So it had been buffering, and so because it was quiet, I forgot that it was even on. So because of that, it came on while I was trying to talk to you guys. So anyway, so my friend said that what she used to do for her children was, when it starts to like boil that bad, I'll stir it up and then maybe turn the heat down a little bit so it's not quite so aggressive, because it's going to get really bad everywhere. But what my friend does is she'll cook up broccoli and she will puree it either in a blender or a food processor, and then she mixes it into her tomato sauce when she makes spaghetti, and the kids have no idea it's in there. And if you have a hard time getting your kids to eat their vegetables, that is an easy way of getting vegetables in them without them really knowing it. So I just want to pass on that tip because I thought it was a great idea. I would do it, but I love broccoli, so I'll eat it just by itself anyway. So I don't need to add it to my sauce. I used to chop it up and then add it to my sauce, but then when I reheated it, and like if I had leftovers and I microwaved it and stuff like that, I don't know, the broccoli just didn't taste as good in the sauce the second day, which is weird because usually tomato sauces and stuff like that, they always taste better the following day. But for some reason with the broccoli in there, I didn't like it. So I've never tried pureeing it and putting it in there and trying that, but I have done it in chunks, and for some reason, I just don't think it tastes as good. It's not bad, it's just doesn't taste very good, in my opinion. So anyway, I will come back when it is time to add the kale. So it still doesn't have enough heat for me, so I am going to add a little more chili flakes, and I will mix that in. And then I will saute this, or not saute it, I'm sorry, I will simmer this for a little longer, and then I will taste it again and see if it is spicy enough for me. One thing my grandmother used to do, and I don't have the time or the inkling to want to do it, is she would saute, or when she made her pasta sauce such as this, she would, like when it's at this point, she would simmer it on low for the rest of the day, and then she would turn it off at night before bed and leave it on the stove, and then in the morning when she got up, she would turn it back on low and let it simmer all day, and then do that for I think 2 or 3 days, and then she would eat it, and it was like nice and simmered. Now I don't have the patience to do that. I want to eat it now, you know what I'm saying? Because you know, us Americans, we want now, now, now. We don't want to wait. We're not patient. Well, some of us are, some of us aren't. um, anyway, I'm not going to do that. I've never actually done that before. You can get the same type of flavoring, maybe not exactly, but very similar, if you add either the wine or the balsamic vinegar. So anyway, I am going to let that simmer and I'll be back. Okay, so it is spicy enough now for me. So I am going to mix in a little bit of Parmesan cheese. I'm not going to do a bunch of Parmesan cheese, but I'm going to add a little bit. Now I want to tell you that this is not really Italian food. This would be considered American Italian. Every country brings their own food, and it gets turned in, or it gets processed through America's taste buds, and it turns out to be something different. So it's not true traditional Italian food, to my understanding. It could be similar to some, but this is more American Italian. So just so you know, I wouldn't call this Italian food, although it's inspired by. It is similar to, it has a resemblance to, but it is American Italian. Now in Italy, when they eat pasta, they very rarely eat bread with their pasta, except for they will sometimes use bread to soak up leftover sauce, but they generally don't do it. Here in America, American Italian food, we eat garlic bread with our pasta and stuff, but in Italy, they don't do that. Okay, so I'm gonna simmer this kale and the Parmesan cheese together. This sauce is pretty much ready to go, so I'm gonna turn it way down and just let that simmer. and then I will be back. Okay, so because it is all close to dinner time, I'm just going to go ahead and have this spaghetti sauce as my dinner. I'm going to cook up some pasta, and this will be my dinner tonight. So I am actually going to cook macaroni noodles with this. I generally don't cook spaghetti noodles when I have this sauce. Not that I wouldn't, or not that I couldn't, but I generally like bite-sized ones that I can just eat or pick up easily. So nothing against pasta or spaghetti noodles. I just prefer something that's easier to pick up. So that's what I'm going to do. So I will be back. Okay, so now that this is boiling, I'm going to add salt to my water. You want it, they say you want it to be like sea salt, like that salty, because then it adds flavor. I don't know if I do it enough or not, but there is a fallacy out there saying that you can add oil to your water and it will prevent pasta from sticking, but that is not true. There is no evidence to support that claim. I don't know where it came from, but people say it a lot. What keeps pasta from sticking is you need to stir it, and if you stir it for the first couple minutes, not constantly necessarily, but give it a good stir, and then wait a couple seconds, give it another good stir, and keep stirring it. You want to keep it in motion for at least the first minute or so that you have it in here. One of the reasons why pasta sticks is when you first put it in there and it gets the water, it gets a little gummy, but once you get past the minute or so, you don't have to stir it quite so often, but you still want to keep stirring it because you don't want it to burn or stick to the bottom. But I don't know, I just stir it once in a while. Now, the thing that oil does to prevent pasta from sticking is when it's done cooking and you've drained it and you have it sitting in a bowl or the pot back in the pot. If you're not going to put a sauce on it right away, then putting the olive oil on there to prevent it from sticking, yes, that'll prevent it from sticking. But adding the oil to the water will not prevent it from sticking. There's no support for that. Anyway, so I'm gonna let this cook and I'll be back. Okay, so here is the the finished product, and I am gonna eat it and enjoy it, and I will see you all next time. Good morning, everybody. So I just wanted to come back and tell you a funny story. So yesterday, as my phone was sitting in the holder and recording, it fell into the boiling pot of macaroni, and I was so worried that it wasn't going to work, but it seems to be working fine, thank God. However, my microphone doesn't seem to be working because it connects to my phone, and so it fell in there as well. So unfortunately, I think that might be gone, but thank God my phone itself is working okay. But I just wanted to tell you or show you that I pre-portion in these 16-ounce little containers the sauce and put them in my freezer. So what I did was I pre-portioned them into those containers, left them on the counter for a little bit to cool down, and then I covered them and put them in the fridge overnight, and then I put them in the freezer this morning. So anyway, that is how I process and do the sauce. Those little containers are perfect for like soup, or if you have like a rice dish or something like that, some sort of casserole or something like that, that you can pre-portion those into portions for later use. So those work perfect. So anyway, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing to my channel, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.